Despite the claims made by Joseph Biden and the Bidenites that follow him, children who are coming into the United States as migrants continue to face terrible conditions and, frankly, inhuman treatment at the hands of Border Protection Services. And it shows that this particular aspect, one of the great things that we were supposed to vote for Biden for, shows that it has not changed from the previous administration of Donald Trump. A new overflow facility was built by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on the Army base in El Paso City 9 weeks ago. The facility was designed to accept unaccompanied migrant children. Representatives, child advocates, federal and contract workers inside the facility have claimed that the site is being poorly managed and children are suffering. Now, people who have visited the place are complaining of absolutely deplorable conditions, caseworkers not being able to see children when they are supposed to, or some of them not even at all. Now, these situations have gotten a lot worse, and one of the people speaking out about it is Veronica Escobar, who was quoted by the El Paso Times. I think having that many people all together in one place is risky to their health and their safety. I think it makes supervision and oversight nearly impossible, she said. My other area of deep concern, she added, is the fact that we have kids who have been in that facility for a significant period of time. I met children who have been there over 40 days. That is absolutely unacceptable, and it is deeply alarming. Now, when you actually go there, what people are complaining about is that there are 11 tents in which children are being held. 6 of those tents are COVID quarantine. That's right, more than half of all the tents providing housing are specifically quarantined for children with COVID-19 or some kind of variant therein. And this is one of the major things the Health and Human Services is showing some kind of outrage about, that, that they've got over 300 children with this kind of disease and they're not being carefully looked after. And this is a significant outrage that not just, Health and Human Services, but any person with any kind of basic sense of decency and compassion would understand that these children are not being taken care of. The number of children arriving at the southwest border of the country without parent or legal guardian surged early this year, from less than 5,000 children per month in December to more than 18,700 children in March. Now, in late March, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection released images of many of these camps. They show places that are absolutely cramped, jammed full. I mean, these places were only intended to house about 250 people, yet there are 4,000 being housed in them. So you can imagine how absolutely overfilled this facility is. So perhaps overflow facility is a really good name for these places, because that's exactly what they are, overfilled. Now, a lot of them are mostly teenagers from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, although some of the children have been being reported as young as 6 years old. Now, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, now he has been a very vocal opponent of these detention camps, which is exactly what they are, and called on the Biden administration to do something about them. And he has raised the alarm about sexual abuse that's being carried out against these children. And he said all of these accusations of sexual abuse are coming from credible sources from within the actual buildings, the actual facilities themselves. Abbott said complaints that were sent to these state agencies, including the following 4 things. Children at the facility were being sexually assaulted. Second, there were not enough staff to safely supervise the children at the facility. Third, some children at the facility are not eating throughout the day. And fourth, the children with COVID are not being physically separated from children without COVID. Now, this is absolutely deplorable. There is you can't even treat prisoners like that in the United States. Well, you can enslave them, but you can't really do that. I mean, this is how you treat innocent people. I mean, these they're children. They haven't committed any crime. They're just children. Many of them, some of them don't even really know what's going on because they're that young. Of course, the older teenagers understand. But I mean, there are literal children, 6 years old, in there who are frightened to death and who apparently are being sexually abused by people in these facilities. And I, for one, wholly believe that this is going on. I mean, how many times have we seen the utterly malicious, sadistic nature of the Border Patrol people on the southern border of the United States that just show absolutely nothing, no sense of compassion, nothing for people who are in a dire situation. I mean, there's like literally zero empathy whatsoever. These people, in my eyes, don't even act human. I mean, this is really disgusting. But this is the face of the U.S. empire. This is the face of empire, period. Not even specific to the United States, but how many empires would act in general. And this has been the mind-boggling inhumanity that has faced this entire migrant crisis. It is far from simply Donald Trump being the very questionable character, the piece of shit that he is. It's far from him. It's also Biden doing the exact same thing under the guise of POC and LGBTQ CIA and what other letters you want to add to that. That's the thing. That's the faux progressivism that's being put on top of the U.S. empire that doesn't actually change anything. It makes their imperialism and their barbarity more intersectional. A lot like BreadTube itself. Far from their ideas of them being some kind of radicals who then tell you to turn around and vote for Biden and ride with Biden. And personally, I'd rather die, but that's besides the point. I mean, that's what you get from these BreadTubers who tell you to go ahead and just vote Democratic, vote blue no matter who, because it's going to be totally different this time, guys. Because it's not going to be like before, and yet the empire completely chugs along, absolutely the same, unchanged, except that we got this nice veneer of POC and LGBTQ and whatnot on top of it. That's exactly BreadTube. It's literally the same old social democratic fascist nonsense. I mean, another good example of that is Cenk Uygur. Now, a lot of you may be paying attention to what Cenk Uygur's been doing lately, and that's slandering Aaron Maine and other people who disagree with him. In other words, people are calling out the Democratic Party on everything that it is that I just said. There's nothing new under the sun in this regard. They're continuing the same patterns that occurred under Donald Trump, just with a more mature veneer to it, someone who can act like an adult. And then when you criticize that, and then you criticize the people who support that, like Cenk Uygur, then he goes off and he starts throwing a fit. And one really great tweet that I saw was someone saying Anna Kasparian's temper tantrum on air was like the death throes of an empire. The continual insistence that everything is getting better when it is certainly not. And that is a perfect symbol for everything that is so-called progressivism in the United States. That is a perfect symbol for everything that is BreadTube. Don't worry, guys. It's totally getting better. All you got to do is just keep believing in the Democratic Party. I mean, we're supposed to be Marxists or socialists, but we keep telling you to vote for capitalist parties. I mean, you're not even telling people to vote for the CPUSA. I mean, that's a complete waste of time. But you would be at least voting for someone who's a communist, as opposed to deliberately voting for someone who's not a communist. And it shows the incredible insanity of all of this. And that's first worldism. Well, a lot of people aren't going to want to hear that, but that's what it is. They don't fundamentally want anything to change. They don't want a new society. They want the same society with the same benefits. Just bump those up a little bit, give them the health care, give them the education, and they'll very quietly go away. Or they'll sing the praises of Biden and whatnot. They don't want a radical restructuring of society. If you wanted a radical restructuring of society, you wouldn't be telling people to vote for the Democratic Party. You wouldn't be telling them to vote blue no matter who. And this exposes the face of what BreadTube is. It's a fraud. Some of them have already admitted to actually being paid by the Democratic Party, and some of them haven't come out of the closet on that one yet. So I'm sorry if a lot of people aren't going to like this message, but it's true. It's first worldism. They don't really want a radical new society. They just want the same one with the same benefits, the same privileges, just with better healthcare, better education, and some better infrastructure. Things that basically any other bourgeois country already provides. These people don't want socialism. They want social democracy. They want Europe. They want Western Europe. And there's much to be criticized there too. In other words, they want the same thing, just with more of the wealth being distributed towards them. But nothing have been done about imperialism, still continuing to live off imperialist pillage of the third world. And that shows why first worldism is not Marxism. It's not even revisionism. It's outright reactionary. And that's what these people are. I'm sorry to go off on a massive tangent here, but it's something that definitely does need to be said. There is a big difference between the people who want a radical restructuring of society and those who just want the same old imperialist privilege, just more of it. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.